Hey guys, welcome back to Sharks Academy, and in today's video, I want to share with you the weekly market analysis, and we'll start off with dollar index. First of all, we broke structure towards the upside. We have a sell to buy wick over here. Right, so let me just zoom in for you. You can see this is a sell to buy wick. The wick of the high to the bottom of the wick. This is a sell buy, right? And then with this move, we expect bullish towards the dollar into this supply zone. So yes, now on the daily time frame, we are looking to buy up into this supply area. Okay, and then we can expect some reaction from here. So this reaction could be bearish for DXY just for a few hours before it continues to move higher potentially, right? Otherwise, understand that if prices rates this high, we can expect a pullback. Rates this high, we can expect a pullback. So do not just go blindly bullish into DXY. This is the overall picture, right? So next up, Aussie dollar, we just broke structure again over here on the daily time frame. So we are bearish until prices decides to break this level. So where are we going to sell from? These areas are earwise for us to sell from. So prices taps in. Let's go down to the lower time frame. It gave us a change of character on the 4 hours time frame. Can you see this is a change of character? Alright. So this change of character gave us a pullback into this supply. So go down to the lower time frame again. Understand that this is the 2 hour supply. But if you go down to the 1 hour supply, you understand that this is a valid POI as well. So let me use another color. And if prices fail to break lower now over here, right? If it fails to take this low, we understand that prices can accumulate from here to go higher to grab liquidity here before going down. This is a possibility. So now, if I want to catch a move of this current price action, I want to wait for this to be broken. I want to wait for this to be rated, right? So I want to see a BOS over here. So when prices break structure here, I'm looking for a pullback into 2 POIs. I'm looking to pull back into this level or this supply around here. So let's just play on the time frame to look for a thinner movement. So can you see this is a supply? And this may potentially be a supply, right? So imagine prices breaks down and this inside bar becomes a supply. All right. So these are valid if we break structure here. Okay. Over here we have the euro pound. You can see we are still delivering bearishly on the larger time frame, right? We have a break of structure here. And then of course we have a wick out here, right? We have a red, we have a break of structure here. So this POI is valid for us to take prices higher, of course, right? But we're going to see it happen on the higher time frame because prices just taps into a POI. How do we know this supply failed? Either prices breaks out and this tells us that supply fails, or you wait for another change of character here on the higher time frame. So let's say we go down to the 4 hours time frame. Prices are on the demand zone. So we understand that prices can accumulate for a long period of time before a break, pullback to go higher. So this move over here signals us that this supply fails to create a lower low. Okay, so if this supply holds, we are going to look for sell areas. We're going to look for sells here. We're going to look for sells here or sells here, right? This entire leg that broke structure is going to be POIs for us to sell. Otherwise, wait for accumulation. You have to wait for prices to break this high. Yep. Okay, if prices were to break this high, then we can potentially look for prices to retrace into a POI to go higher. Next, we have the euro yen. Let me just remove all of this. We have a buy to sell wick again, right? Can you see that prices actually shifted in structure? We have a POI here. Prices grabs liquidity towards the upside, right? Then we have a change of character towards the downside. And now looking for this bearish move to be completed. And this bearish move will be completed if we break structure here. We're going to see this getting broken. So once this gets broken, we are going to look for sells here. And potentially somewhere inside here. Let's go down to the lower time frame. You understand that we have a 2 hours supply here that is valid for sells as well, right? Lying above this highs over here, right? In terms of trend line. So now prices break structure here. We can look for a pullback into these areas. So however you decide to look for an entry, it's up to you. Otherwise, do the 3-step process. You understand that this now is bearish. Otherwise, this is bearish. Otherwise, this entire leg is bearish, right? So initially, you're looking to sell here, and this completes the bearish leg. But now, when prices break structure here, this becomes your bearish leg. So you have to look for the 3-step process instead of here. You have to wait for 15M change of character, a 15M change of character. Look for pullback or sells. Okay, if this fails, then we're going to see a higher movement into this level before the 15M change of character or pullback towards the sell side. So if you decide to take another step, which is step number 4, to look for a 1 minute entry inside here, right? So inside here, you're going to look for another 1M change of character like this, pullback to get involved. But you understand that this may not happen on the 1 minute. Okay, prices may literally tap into your 15M POI and start to move off. And if you're waiting for a 1 minute confirmation, you may not necessarily get it. Next, we have Euro USD. You can see that this is a clear demand area. Prices just taps into it. And now taps into supply, showing us signs that it fails to create a new high, right? Because I want to see this demand create a new high. Then I will use POIs over here to get involved for buys, right? So now when prices taps into a supply, and you see a change of character on the higher time frame, let's go down to the 4 hours or the 1 hour, right? You see a low over here. This got liquidated. This is the change of character. Up down. This is the break of structure, right? So now I'm looking to sell. Okay, these are signs that tells us that this demand is not going to hold. So I'm looking to sell, perhaps at this buy to sell wicks or this supply over here. So these two areas are my price of interest. And however you decide to get an entry, it's up to you again. Okay, otherwise I'm going to wait for 15M POI. Okay, I'm going to wait for 15M change of character to get involved. Looking to rate this trend line over here. So now here we have pound yen, and this is a huge structure, right? Prices actually grab liquidity towards the upside. At this point of time, we are looking for buys, but are we going to buy here or here? Potentially, we are not going to buy here because this is too high, right, of the entire range. The truth is that this entire leg is valid for buys. And now prices taps into this demand. This was your first potential buy entries. And now taps into a supply. This change of character over here may signal us that this demand is not going to hold. And if this demand is not going to hold, it's going to be used as liquidity, right? So how do we know whether this demand is going to hold? Again, we wait for it to break, right? Then trade the pullback. Because this is a flip zone, if you understand. Prices taps in. This demand is supposed to create a higher high. But if it fails to create a higher high, then this supply becomes a potential flip zone after it breaks structure. And I'm definitely going to take a sell here. So what do we do now? The second way to tell you that demand is going to fail is if we see this change of character, right? We have a change of character, we have a sweep towards the upside, we have a potential breakdown towards the downside. If this happens, you can use the POI here as well to get involved in sells. Over here, we have the pound dollar. You can see this high over here. Sweep, change of character. This tells us that prices may want to go bearish. Prices came back all the way towards the end of these H4 highs, right? And then gave us another change of character. Can you see over here? We have a sweep towards the upside. We have a break of market structure. Okay, but this is on the 4 hour time frame. So if you go down to the lower time frame, you look at the 15M, you realize that this already shifted. We have a high. Then we have this. Okay, this is the first sweep. This is the low that creates the high. So at this point of time, we are ready to go for sells. So I was trying to catch a sell inside of here when prices take out this 15M low, right? So this is a minor low. Prices takes out, creates this supply. Can you see? Prices taps in, reacted, pull back. This is my flip zone. I was looking for an entry and didn't get filled, right? I was greedy. I was looking for the 50%. So at this point of time, prices almost tapped into my area, didn't happen. Looking for this to be grabbed, right? It ran down and now prices broke this area again. Okay, so can you see that prices broke this area? This leaves behind a supply in terms of inside bar. So this could have been your entry as well. This inside bar, right? You can use the 50%, of course. Otherwise, you understand that how I got involved was at this area. So I didn't get involved here, right? I got involved when prices continued to deliver bearishly. And what is so strong about this? This high or this POI rates. Let me just remove all of this. It's getting messy. So this high over here taps into supply. Okay. Taps into supply zone, rates and sweeps this high. Sweeps high, mitigation, break of structure. And that's why I got involved. And in this case, I used the 25%. Why I used the 25%? because my target is this immediate low. You can see using the 25%, it got me 1:1.7 for my take profit number 1. What happens when I use the entire sell to buy wicks? My RR is less than 1, okay? 1.09, right? And this isn't a good trade for me. So I shifted to a 25% entry, and you can see it greatly increases my RR, 1:1.8, right? So now this is of course valid again. This is a potential supply. This is a potential change of character again. We have a high, we have a low. This changes character. Taps in, lower time frame supply got involved. Alright, I didn't catch this as well. And this is for GU. And where are we looking to head towards? We are going to take this low for sure. Okay. So please go down to the lower time frame, look for continuations. If prices were to break this level now, and look for another pullback, this supply to get involved. Okay, but if prices were to break down from here and mingle around this area, then you have to take note if prices were to come back here, then look for another confirmation before taking sells. Otherwise, the next scenario is prices literally breaks down from here and just smashes through this level. Then with this, we can expect a deep pullback because we just took out a higher time frame low. This is a high time frame swing low. All of your POIs over here may not necessarily hold, right? Because we took a high time frame liquidity, we can expect a strong pullback into deeper supply areas of the higher time frame like this over here before going lower. Next, we have New Zealand dollar. If I'm looking to sell, I'm literally going to sell here. So this is the best price to sell. So we have a mitigation of this area. We have a mitigation, we have a sweep, we have a break of structure. This is the supply area that I'm looking for. So all of these may be used as liquidity to move into this POI before shifting in structure to go lower. Right? So of course, you can look for buys into the sells, but understand that we are bearish here. So this may be risky. Otherwise, really just wait for a supply here to be tapped to go lower. Next up, UCAD, we have this sweep. We have a change of character here. You can see high, low, high. Change of character, break structure. This has been taken up as well. So what is so powerful about this supply? This was a demand. Prices taps into demand, should create a higher high. Failed to do so, this becomes your flip. This flip taps into previous supply. So this is order flow. Okay, and this supply will hold until it decides to fail, of course. And you can see that there is trend line being created over here already. And this means that prices may move up. Grab this entire trend line, taps into potential supply above, right? All of these are weak highs. We're going to use this supply as our POI to catch sells if I want to. So I want to see the higher time frame shift first. I want to use the 4 hours time frame and make sure that 4 hour is in my favor before I actually look for 15M confirmations, because when you're playing with such a huge structure, the problem is that most traders are dying to get into the trade, right? They're going down to the 5 minutes, the 1 minute, or even lower time frame to catch sells. So for me, I'm going to use the 4 hours, wait for 4 hours to be bearish. So now when 4 hours is bearish, it aligns with this framework I was trading over here. Okay, 4 hours bearish, then you go down to the 15 minutes to wait for it to be aligned. 15 minutes bearish now, and then you can play this area. Same analysis as next week for USDCHF. This is just ugly price action, right? We do not have a clear trend. It's way easier if prices were to, just break towards the one side, right? And that makes price action cleaner. So if you really want to squeeze a trade into USDCHF, then of course this is a supply, this is a valid demand. Okay, I'm just going to wait for one of them to fail. I want prices to tap into this, then break structure, then I'm going to trade this sell. Okay, otherwise I'm going to wait for this high, fail. Okay, I want to see this move up, pull back, break structure. One of this. I want to wait for either demand or supply to fail. Over here, we have the dollar yen. We just broke structure here. We created equal highs here. Can you see these equal highs? So equal highs is going to be drawn towards the upside, right? So we have a bit of structure towards the upside. So yes, we have equal highs. Doesn't mean that it's going to grab right now, right? It doesn't mean that price is going to move up from here. We can eventually take it in the future. So where are we looking to buy from? This is a potential buy for sure. Okay, let's go down to the lower time frame, 4 hours. All of these are POIs to buy from. This over here, valid as well. Okay, so this is an inside bar on the 8 hours. You can even use this daily, right? Because this daily broke structure. Okay, so this can be your POI, and then use the 50%. All of these are valid. So why doesn't this really concern us? Like which POI to use? It's because we are looking for confirmation. So the truth is that you can highlight this entire zone, use the 50% on the daily time frame, and then refine it around the lower time frames like the 8 hours. You realize that, okay, now we have a pin bar here, and then you go down to the 4 hours, we have another one over here. So all of these coincides at this level. So we do not just place a buy limit here, right? We always use a 15 minutes confirmation. And if this entire structure is so huge and you don't want to risk it, you can wait for 4 hours to switch first. But you want to see 4 hours being your pro trend. So now these 4 hours over here aligns with the larger structure. And then you can look for 15M pullback to get involved. So this is one of the ways to get involved. So if you're looking for a 15-minute shift over here, of course you understand that this may not necessarily hold, right? We may see a move down, perhaps stop you out if you want to have an entry here like this, and then take out again. Okay. Over here we have gold. So we start off from this level. You can see this is a supply. This supply sweeps, mitigates, break of structure. This supply sweeps, mitigates, break of structure, right? So this is the last point of mitigation that wasn't tapped into, right? So I expect this to fail, of course. Over here, I expect this to be taken out into this supply, and then I'll look for sales here. Okay, so this is a long way back. This is your retail support area. Okay, and it may eventually be reached, right? We have a trend line over here as well. So over here, if we start distributing, all of these lows will be used as liquidity eventually into this level. Okay, so over here, I want to see prices react and starts to shift bearish. And this entire move is going to bring down towards this area. Otherwise, if this supply has been breached, then we are going long. And then this may be the one that's going to be failed, right? This may be the target. If this supply fails, this is the target. So first of all, before I dive into this DOTUSD, right, this is not financial advice. Please only take this trade if you understand what I'm talking about. This is a valid demand. This demand sweep liquidity. Can you see? Sweeps liquidity, break out of structure. On a technical basis, this is valid for buys. Okay, so literally buy like this. Okay, and then of course, stop loss when it goes to 0. Alright, depends on how are you going to trade this crypto, right? And this is the target. Otherwise, you understand that this actually taps into another demand here. Alright, so this is bullish order flow, and we are looking for a move outside from here. So based on technical basis, this is a valid discounted area to look for buys, and it's very, very discounted. So if you truly trust this project, this is a very good area to buy. And what happens to this low? It's going to be taken out, right? Because we just tapped into supply. Price is going to come back down, grabs this before potentially moving higher. Okay, it may not happen, right? Prices may literally crash from here. Who knows, right? So if I want to be a buyer, I'm going to buy here. So let's set some time aside for the post-analysis, how Sharks Academy use the 3-step process to get involved. So you understand that 3-step process is always varying in terms of time frame that you're looking at. You can use H4, 15, and then the 1 minute. You can use daily time frame, H1, and then like the 5 or 15 minutes to get involved. So over here, this is where we get involved, right? First of all, understanding there is a pool of liquidity here, we just broke structure here. This is a valid supply, right? Go down to the 15 minutes time frame. Wait for the change of character. So over here, we are using the 15M. We have a sweep. We have a change of character here. Okay, you can use this. This is just a pause in the market. All right, this is the stronger low, I would say. Breaks down, pulls back. At this point of time, if you're a 15M trader, this is already your entry, like this, and target this low because this is your immediate range liquidity. This is easily 1:5.5 just by placing a sell limit order. All right, and of course, understanding that this is the distribution phase, right? Pull lower. So whatever you're using over here, you understand you can actually have it. This is a buying climax, automatic rally, ST, UT, UTAD, break of structure. So this is Wyckoff as well. Okay. Otherwise, understand that this is just a supply zone here, right? That is valid for sells. this could be your entry. So I was waiting for another move. I was waiting for a 1M confirmation. So for those traders who are trading 15 minutes, if you realize that, okay, all of a sudden you missed this trade, for some reason you didn't place a sell limit here, right? After taking liquidity, you didn't place a sell limit here. Then what's next for you? Go down to the 1 minute time frame to look for a bearish movement, because yes, now your 15 minutes is aligned, right? Your 15 minutes is bearish at this point of time. So now you can go down to the 1 minute time frame and wait for 1 minute to be bearish as well. Then now it aligns. Okay, look at this. High, low, high, break structure, right? So this is a change of character, of course. This is the supply zone that you could have gotten involved. So not so clean around here, right? This is not so clean on 1 minute. You can use the 50%. You can see it taps in perfectly. Otherwise, for those who have access to the lower time frames, this is a 30 seconds or 15 seconds supply, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so this is a 15 second supply, okay, which you have gotten involved as well. So what happens when 1 minute break structure? So remember, we were initially playing with the 15 minutes time frame. 15 minutes now switch character, right? It changes character here. You could have gotten involved here. If you missed it, never mind. You go down to the 1 minute time frame. 1 minute time frame, change your character again. Over here, this is your supply. For some reason you missed it again. Then what's next? Go down lower. Go down to the 15 seconds time frame or the 5 seconds time frame. And you can see. Let me use this. On the 15 seconds time frame, again you have this sweep. You have a break of market structure here. Alright, this is equal lows. This is not counted. Prices broke down. Right, creating what? A supply here to get involved. Okay, you can even go down to 5 seconds and take a look what is going on. This high over here sweeps liquidity towards the upside. Right, taps into supply. Break structure. This now becomes a valid bearish order flow on a 5 seconds time frame, and you can use this to take prices lower. So all of these are just relative to the time frame you're looking at, right? From the H4 to the 15M to the 1 minute to the 15 or 5 seconds. All of this is basically 3-step process over and over again. Okay,